Claire Thompson moved into her modest apartment in Dreadford, hoping for peace, a new chapter, a new beginning. The building was old, its walls creaking and floors uneven, but she found comfort in its history, in the way the shadows seemed to gather like silent memories of the lives it had held before hers. Her unit faced a narrow alley, and across it was another building, a mirror image of her own, with a row of windows facing hers. Most were dark and unremarkable, but one caught her eye on her very first night. The window directly opposite hers. The blinds were always half drawn, and though she couldn't make out much in the dimness, there was a shadow, a figure that seemed to hover near the glass. A bit disquieted, but telling herself it was nothing, she ignored it. Yet over the weeks, she found herself glancing at that window more and more often, feeling a strange sensation prickling at her skin, a lingering unease that settled like a weight on her chest. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, she would wake to a low murmur drifting through the walls, soft, indistinct words in a voice that seemed almost familiar. And always, that dark shape in the window opposite, as if it too was awake and watching. One night after a long day at work, Claire's nerves got the better of her. She convinced herself to confront him. Whoever he was, she would let him know his staring was unacceptable. She steeled herself, grabbed her coat and went outside, standing at the base of his building, staring up at that half-closed window. But something about the silence around her was suffocating, the street unnaturally still, and her anger turned to uncertainty. She went back inside. That's when the strange things began to happen. At first it was small. She would come home to find her apartment door slightly ajar, though she always double-checked the locks. Objects seemed to move on their own. Her keys on the table would be on the floor, her shoes would be out of place. Then she began hearing the whispering inside her apartment. Low, hushed voices would murmur her name, echoing through the thin walls, always just out of earshot but unmistakably real. When she told her friends, they brushed it off.
The place is just old, Claire. Old buildings settle, and besides, you've been under a lot of stress. It's probably just your mind playing tricks.
Her friend Hannah said over coffee. However, Claire was certain there was more to it. At night, lying in bed, she'd hear the floorboards creak and feel the cold chill of a presence near her. Once, she swore she saw the shadow of a man cross her living room just as she flicked on the light. But when she searched, there was no one there. The next day, she decided to confront her neighbor directly. She found the landlord in the building's small office, looking harried and distracted.
Mr. Laszlo, can you tell me about the tenant in 4B?
She asked, her voice a mixture of irritation and unease. The landlord gave her a long, confused look.
4B. That unit's been empty for years. Guy who lived there left a while back. Don't think he ever came back for his stuff.
A cold shiver ran down her spine.
I've seen him, though, every night. He's standing there in the window. He watches me.
The landlord shook his head, frowning.
Look, I know it's an old place and sometimes things seem a bit off, but I can assure you 4B's empty.
Claire left the office feeling disoriented, her mind buzzing. Her steps quickened as she returned to her apartment, heart pounding. That night, as she lay in bed, she felt a powerful urge to look out her window. Her eyes were drawn, almost against her will, to that opposite window. He was there, the shadowy figure standing right at the glass, watching her. But tonight, there was something different. His face was visible, eyes dark as voids, staring unblinking across the alley into her room. His lips moved, whispering silent words too soft to hear, yet her name seemed to linger in the air, hauntingly familiar. Trembling, Claire forced herself to look away, but the whispers grew louder, her name echoing from all around her. She covered her ears, desperate to shut out the sound, but it seeped through, relentless. When she finally turned back to the window, she saw his hand press against the glass, fingers outstretched as if reaching toward her. Driven by terror and a strange sense of compulsion, Claire grabbed her phone and called Hannah.
Please. There's someone in the apartment across from mine. I'm not imagining it.
She whispered into the phone, trying to keep her voice steady.
I'll be right there.
Hannah replied, sounding concerned but doubtful. As she waited, Claire stared back at the figure, and a thought began to form, a terrible, irrational thought growing louder with each whisper that seemed to echo through her room. What if he wasn't trying to scare her? What if he was trying to warn her? Just as Hannah arrived and pounded on the door, the figure vanished, leaving only darkness behind. The next day, Claire found herself drawn to the records in the local library. After hours of searching, she discovered an old newspaper article with a photograph that sent a shock through her. The man in the article, an eccentric shut-in, had once lived in the apartment opposite hers. The article mentioned his tragic death. He had been found dead in his bedroom, standing by his window. Horrified, Claire read on. According to the article, his final words, scrawled in chalk on the wall by his window, were simple yet chilling. "They are watching me." That night, she looked out her window one last time. Across the alley in the faint glow of moonlight, the figure returned, standing by his window, staring back at her. His hollow eyes filled with the same terror she felt. He wasn't trying to haunt her. He was trapped, warning her of something lurking in the shadows between their worlds. As she looked closer, she saw, just behind him in the darkness, faint shadows writhing and watching her too, eyes glinting like distant stars. She turned off the light, shut the curtains, and never looked out that window again.